Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, Ballarat tragedy. A man and woman's bodies found inside a home following a suspected murder-suicide. Taylor Swift dazzles 96,000 fans in her record-breaking first concert at the MCG. Vladimir Putin blamed for the shock prison death of rival Alexei Navalny. Homes and businesses in the Dandenongs among thousands still in the dark after Tuesday's storm. Donald Trump heads back after he was fined $500 million. And Hawks and Bombers fans get up close and personal ahead of their round one clash.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. A mother of 5 is dead and the homicide squad is helping investigate a suspected murder-suicide near Ballarat. As Mark Santomartino explains, at least 2 of her children were home at the time.
Neighbours were scared of Ian Butler, a proud Bandidos bikie nicknamed Sheriff, identified as the 55-year-old Ballarat man found dead at this Sebastopol home, near the body of 42-year-old Rebecca Young.
I didn't really know him because I haven't been there that long, so yeah, that's about all. A bit of a shock.
Officers found the couple inside this Morgan Street property at 9 p.m. Rebecca had only moved into the home 6 months ago and was in a volatile relationship, according to neighbours who cared for 2 of her children as investigations dragged through the night. They heard an argument and the wails of Rebecca's parents at the scene. Police will not confirm how she or Ian died or what, if any, weapons were collected in these bags of evidence.
I got a real shock, yeah. A couple of my friends rang me to see if I was okay, that something had happened in Morgan Street.
Cleaners have just arrived at the property, which remains under police guard. The homicide squad is assisting this investigation, but because they're not looking for any other suspects, it's being led by local detectives here in Ballarat. If you or someone you know needs help, call 1-800-RESPECT or Lifeline. Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
Dressed in their glittery finest, 96,000 fans have welcomed Taylor Swift back to Australia for the biggest concert of her career. As Madeline Slattery reports, one tiny Swiftie at the MCG will never forget her close encounter with the pop princess.
A dazzling MCG filled to the brim with Swifties.
Welcome to the Eras Tour!
Even by the pop star's standards, this was a momentous occasion.
This is the biggest show that we have done on this tour or any tour I have ever done.
96,000 fans from far and wide sung their hearts out in a 3-hour journey through Taylor's various musical eras. In the crowd, 9-year-old Milana plucked from her chair, which was toward the back of the floor seats. The grade 4 student couldn't believe her luck when she was ushered to the stage.
There were so many people there and they chose me.
At the time, her mum didn't understand what was about to unfold.
I actually thought we were in trouble. I was quite concerned, but as we approached the stage and we got closer, I knew something good was about to happen, so we were all quite shaky and nervous.
Milana's sister got Taylor's guitar pick. They handed Taylor a friendship bracelet in return.
Pretty emotional because this is my first ever concert. That was my first ever concert.
Now Milana is a proud caretaker of this hand-signed felt hat.
I have this little lamp and I put it on there and now it looks like a little person.
It's such a party here in Milana's household. The girls were singing just like this when we arrived, and I dare say they're going to keep dancing pretty much the same way for the rest of the weekend. Taylor Swift's last visit was in 2018, so it's no wonder the 6-year wait resulted in data overload. Optus estimates their customers uploaded close to 500,000 photos at the G last night. Those outside the gates put on a brave face despite not having tickets. Another surprise gesture from the megastar with a generous donation to the food bank charity.
We've already seen some of the Swifties following Taylor's lead and making donations as well.
It's now 1 down, 2 to go before the tour moves to Sydney. Madeline Spark, 9 News.
And Emily Rice is at the MCG this evening where Swifties are gathering for Tay-Tay's second concert. Now, Em, how does the atmosphere compare to last night's?
Well, Pete, the love story between Melbourne, Taylor Swift and her Swifties shows no sign of abating. There are plenty of sequins, cowboy hats, glasses, cowboy boots. Everyone is super pumped. It's not quite as frenzied as last night out here, but I can't speak for what's going to go on inside. How is everybody feeling? Pete, whether you're a fan or not, it is wonderful to see Melbourne sparkling, so much glitter, so much excitement to celebrate a beautiful female pop icon. Let's have a great night, everyone, so far. Back to you.
OK, thank you so much, Emily. Meanwhile, a family's dream of seeing their idol has been shattered after their trip of a lifetime ended in disaster. A 16-year-old fan on her way to Melbourne for a Taylor Swift concert was killed and her 10-year-old sister critically injured when their car and a semi-trailer collided on Thursday evening near the New South Wales town of Dubbo. The girls and their mother were driving from the Gold Coast. Western leaders, including Anthony Albanese, are pointing the finger at Vladimir Putin following the sudden death of his fiercest critic, Alexei Navalny. Edward Godfrey tells us the former Russian opposition leader collapsed in a remote Arctic prison.
Alexei Navalny on Thursday during a video link appearance in a Russian court. Looking thinner than before, but otherwise well, even joking with the judge and prosecutor for them to send him money to help him pay his fines. It's the last time he'd be seen. 24 hours later, the 47-year-old was dead. According to a federal prison spokesperson, the Russian opposition leader felt unwell after a walk at the remote polar wolf penal colony in the Arctic Circle, where he was serving a 19-year sentence. He lost consciousness and medical staff couldn't revive him. Condemnation from world leaders swift and direct.
Putin had him poisoned, he had him arrested, he had him prosecuted for fabricated crimes, he sentenced to prison, he was held in isolation.
We hold Vladimir Putin and the Russian regime responsible for this death in prison.
No one should be in any doubt about the dreadful nature of Putin's regime in Russia after what has just happened.
Just hours after learning of his death, Navalny's wife Yulia bravely took to the stage at a security summit in Munich. I thought for a long time whether I should come out here or fly straight to my children. But then I thought what Alexei would do in my place, she says. Russian state media reporting President Vladimir Putin had been advised of his death. It comes less than a month before Russia's presidential election. Navalny has long been considered President Putin's most outspoken critic and most powerful opponent, campaigning hard against the Kremlin. In 2020, with his popularity on the rise, the father of two was poisoned. German doctors say with Novichok, the same nerve agent used to target former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter in the UK 2 years earlier. The Kremlin rejected claims it was behind it. Months later, while still recovering, Navalny shocked many by returning home to Moscow. He was detained on arrival and wouldn't taste freedom again, ultimately jailed for extremism and embezzlement. He recorded a video message for his supporters in the event he'd someday be killed.
It's very simple, not give up.
He was brave, he was principled, he was dedicated to building a Russia where the rule of law existed and where it applied to everybody.
Reaction to this has been fast and it's being seen all over. Here outside the Russian embassy in London, a large crowd of Mr. Navalny's supporters has gathered to send a message to Moscow.
There are many people in Russia who still support him. There's so many people in here who support him. We can see the amount of people who are here.
Impassioned protesting for some. In Moscow, they were asked not to. They laid flowers for a man dubbed by many Russia's fiercest advocate for democracy. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
A health alert has been issued for Melbourne Airport after a confirmed measles case passed through. An international traveller arrived at Terminal 2 from Dubai on an Emirates flight on Wednesday night before boarding a domestic flight to South Australia on Thursday afternoon. Those who travelled through exposure sites are asked to monitor for symptoms. More than 12,000 homes and businesses are struggling with lingering electricity outages 5 days after Victoria's damaging storm. As Emily Rice discovered, residents in the Dandenongs are feeling powerless and losing patience.
The town of Emerald in the Dandenongs is in the dark about when full power will be restored following Tuesday's damaging storm.
Still no power. We have a limited amount of generators in the main street running only for shops. Just to keep the town going.
While crews are working hard to clear debris and fix lines, more than 2,000 homes and businesses are without supply. The protracted blackout forced Emerald Village Meats to throw out $15,000 worth of refrigerated produce.
And then we've had no sales, obviously, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Generators have just been brought in to feed electricity to some Main Street businesses. However, the butcher is hesitant to restock until the electricity supply can be guaranteed.
I've just been speaking to SP Ausnet to ask how stable the connection is, and if I fill my fridges back up again, what happens if that generator runs out of fuel?
The Fraser family home is still powerless, and Mum Lee is doing all she can to keep her son Willem's essential medical equipment charged.
At the moment, we've been borrowing power from the neighbour's generator. Yesterday, I went into the Royal Children's Hospital to use their power.
In addition to trees falling on power lines, last week's destructive winds also crumpled transmission towers. The opposition says a recent report by Energy Safe Victoria shows the state is falling behind essential upgrades of ageing power infrastructure.
But the buck stops with the Allen Labor government, and it had the warning signs to act on these things.
The government has announced prolonged power outage payments of just over $1,900 for affected households and just over $2,900 for affected small businesses. But the cash payments only kick in once the power's been out for a minimum of 7 days.
So they look really good until you read all of the terms and conditions. And then you find out that you're not actually eligible for any of the payments.
Looking at the damage in the hills here, it is going to be days before everybody's back online.
Emily Rice, 9 News.
Donald Trump's been delivered a $500 million blow by the US judge presiding over his fraud case. Along with the fine, he's been barred from business in New York for 3 years, a decision he's labelled a witch hunt. More from Alison Petrowski.
For months, Donald Trump has been fighting for his name and reputation in his hometown. Today, the state of New York delivered a devastating blow.
Donald Trump may have authored the art of the deal, but he perfected the art of the steal.
Judge Arthur Engeron fining the former president more than $540 million, barring him from running a business for 3 years and blocked from applying for loans from any New York financial institution.
He ruled against me before he even got the case. He ruled against me, said I was guilty. He didn't know what I was guilty of.
His 2 adult sons ordered to pay more than $6 million each, all for overvaluing Trump's assets and exaggerating his net worth by more than $3.4 billion in order to obtain better loan and insurance terms.
My father built the skyline of New York City, and this is the thanks he gets?
The judge said Trump and his son's refusal to acknowledge fault borders on pathological, stating the defendants are incapable of admitting the error of their ways and that they will continue to engage in fraudulent behaviour unless judicially restrained.
There were no victims because the banks made a lot of money. They made $100 million.
Today's ruling, the culmination of an 11-week trial where Donald Trump was both an angry spectator and defendant.
It's an unconstitutional witch hunt.
The only saving grace for Trump, Judge Engeron did not order the dissolution of his business, saving him from corporate death. Trump will appeal the hefty financial penalty, which increases with interest, but he'll have to come up with the money or secure a bond within 30 days. The ruling won't render him bankrupt, but it may force him to rethink drama in the courtroom as a path to victory. In the United States, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
4 people, including a teenage girl, have been taken to hospital after a 3-car crash on the Western Ring Road around 2 o'clock this afternoon. 2 people were trapped following the collision at Sunshine West but avoided serious injury. It's unclear what caused the crash. 3 former Liberal premiers are tipping in to help cover John Pesutto's legal defence against Moira Deeming's defamation action. The move is a crucial show of support for the opposition leader and could cost around $1 million. Dougal Beattie reports.
With a costly legal battle looming, John Pesutto's influential friends are digging deep.
I'm very grateful for their support.
The three former Liberal premiers, Jeff Kennett, Ted Baillieu and Dennis Napthine, are now privately funding the opposition leader's defence against defamation action from expelled Liberal MP Moira Deeming.
They're three mentors of mine. I look up to them and admire them greatly. Each of them has been a great friend of mine over the years.
Jeff Kennett hitting out at his party for failing to underwrite John Pesutto's case, which could cost around $1 million. Telling the Age newspaper, "I can't think of another occasion where a person in this position has not been supported by their party." Ted Baillieu revealing it was the former premiers who came up with the idea. The three of us talked about it and decided it was the right thing to do. A move which could be seen as a leadership endorsement should there be another challenge. It should have been sorted out, he's doing a good job, and it is important we support him. It's not known how much each is donating, but all names will be declared through John Pesutto's Register of Parliamentary Interests.
I'm not asking the Liberal Party or taxpayers for any contribution to my legal defence.
Nor will he be asking his party room colleagues.
I have not been asked for a contribution, but I'm open to discussion on all of that.
After several unsuccessful attempts at mediation, the defamation battle officially got underway in court earlier this month, with a 10-day trial scheduled to begin in September. Only if a settlement isn't negotiated before then. Dougal Beattie, 9 News.
Now with a look ahead to sport, here's Alicia Muling.
Thank you so much, Pete. Coming up tonight, the Hawks, they're in damage control after their horror injury run. And for the skipper, it might be a case of plan B in defence.
We've got young Jai Sarong, who just turned 21, who's played a couple of games and had a good pre-season. We've still got Denver. We've got Weddle, who's 95 kilos.
At the Bombers, Red Dog heads to the Groomers. The D's plans for Clayton Oliver ahead of tomorrow's hit-out against Richmond. Tiger gives golf fans a big scare. And why Ange has no time for rumours linking him to Liverpool. That's all coming up for you, Pete.
OK, thank you, Alicia. And when Melbourne's 9 News returns, a boy killed. A 12-year-old sadly succumbs to his injuries after he was struck by a car in Mulgrave. 2 teams charged over the deadly Super Bowl parade shooting. And Kylie's hot pants among show-stopping costumes taking centre stage at Hamer Hall. A 12-year-old has died in hospital after he was struck by a car in Melbourne southeast yesterday afternoon. Flowers were placed at the scene on Police Road in Mulgrave today in memory of the Noble Park boy. It's not clear what caused the tragedy, but the driver stopped at the scene and is helping investigators. About 200 mobile speed camera operators will walk off the job again tomorrow as they continue to protest safety and pay concerns. Public sector union members have been in a dispute with the state government and their employer Serco for months. The union recently rejected a revised wage offer and claimed the public service provider snubbed the demands of employees. Peter Dutton is tonight stepping up his attack on the Albanese government over the latest asylum seeker boat arrival. As Amanda Kopp explains, his comments defy the nation's border security boss, who's made a plea for unity to deter people smugglers.
The Prime Minister handling this precious cargo with care as he faces accusations of loosening his grip on Australia's borders.
The fact is that we've got a weak Prime Minister when it comes to our borders. He's allowed this boat through.
We do not seek to politicise national security issues.
Around 30 asylum seekers were detained by Border Force after arriving on a remote stretch of the WA coast near Broome, seeking refuge in the town of Beagle Bay after 5 days at sea and a blistering 35-kilometre trek inland.
I don't want to go back Pakistan. They're treating us like a human being.
But Mohammed won't have a choice.
People who attempt to arrive here by boat will not settle here.
Thumbs up from a second group of asylum seekers who also turned up near Beagle Bay. The political battle over borders rearing its head, the opposition leader claiming the government's handling of released immigration detainees is giving the green light to people smugglers.
They're very savvy. They look at every word and every action of the government, and if they see vulnerabilities, they will exploit them. And that's exactly what has happened here.
The head of Operation Sovereign Borders delivering a thinly veiled swipe to Mr Dutton about the risk of public commentary, declaring the mission remains the same. Any alternate narrative will be exploited by criminals. Despite this warning, Peter Dutton today doubling down on his attacks over immigration policy, showing he believes it's a vulnerability of the Albanese government. Amanda Kopp, 9 News.
2 teenagers have been charged over a shooting at the Kansas City Super Bowl parade, which killed 1 person and injured 22 others. One of the injured is still in a critical condition. The stars of the entertainment world may wear costumes, but it's their costumes that are the stars of the show in a new exhibition at Hamer Hall. As Alan Rascal discovered, big names have donated their big collections for all to see.
They were the gold hot pants made famous by this song. Kylie's costumes among the thousands in the Australian Performing Arts Collection, which spans many decades and several genres.
We collect under circus, opera, theatre, music and dance. They're sort of our big subject headings.
Many of the items are donated by the artists themselves.
That's a very early marsupial dress. A marsupial means having a pocket, of course, and this has a lovely koala pocket.
Everywhere you look, there is endless star power. A gown worn by Dame Joan Sutherland, a shirt that once covered Hugh Jackman, Peter Allen's flair for colour is also there.
Obviously the Hawaiian shirts are it's a bit of a signature thing with him.
A big part of the collection is conservation.
To make sure that everything is looked after and it's in a stable condition, that means that we can actually share it and make sure that it's going to be safe.
It can all be seen on weekends at Hamer Hall. Tickets are $43 for adults, $33 for concession. Costumes like these might ordinarily remain in a performer's wardrobe or in a warehouse or even get lost, but collections like these give them new life and allow fans to get up close and personal to a piece of the star they love. It's the collection with heart. Alan Rascal, 9 News.
Time for a check now on the weather with Madeline Spark. It was a bit of a cloudy start to the day, Maddie.
That's right, Pete, it was, but the cloud broke up this afternoon, leaving us with plenty of sunshine. It was still a bit cooler than average, though. After an overnight low of 14 degrees, the city peaked at 23. A high-pressure system sitting over the Bight is delivering our settled conditions, while a trough is triggering showers and storms over the east coast. And storms have recently extended into far east Gippsland. In the country's north, ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln has weakened, but it's continuing to bring heavy rainfall and storms in the Northern Territory and Queensland. And those conditions will persist tomorrow as it moves further west, but our day is looking mostly dry and settled yet again, and I'll have all the Sunday weather details for you a little later in the bulletin, Pete.
OK, thank you, Maddie. Coming up after the break, family matters. Prince Harry speaks out about his dash home to see the King after his cancer diagnosis. The prime suspect in Maddie McCann's disappearance faces court. And music fans soak up this year's St Kilda Festival.
The war veteran fleeced of $18,000.
He took it within a day.
The sophisticated Netflix scam allegedly run by this teenager.
What happened to all of the money?
How this Melbourne pensioner lost it all.
We had nothing to live on for a fortnight.
9 News, your news, Monday.
A Melbourne baseballer gunned down in the US has been honoured with his own playing field in Essendon. Chris Lane was in Oklahoma on a sports scholarship when he was randomly shot by 3 teenagers in 2013.
He was just a basic good kid. He didn't have pretensions about his ability. He knew where he stood with the sport. He knew where he stood in life.
10 years and more than $100,000 later, the Chris Lane Field will become Australia's first Little League batting ground. Prince Harry has opened up about his father's cancer diagnosis and his whirlwind trip home to see the King. Visiting Invictus Games athletes in Canada, he also revealed he's considered becoming an American citizen. More from Jessica Millward.
Prince Harry in a snowy Whistler, speaking candidly about a seemingly thawing relationship with his father.
The fact that I was able to get on a plane and go and see him and spend any time with him, I'm grateful for that.
An illness in the family can have a galvanising or sort of reunifying effect for a family. Absolutely. Is that possible in this case?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Harry opening up about the King's cancer diagnosis in an interview with Good Morning America, but refusing to be drawn on the seriousness of the monarch's condition.
What's sort of your outlook on his health?
that stays between me and him.
Harry and Meghan, hand in hand, met with Invictus Games athletes near Vancouver, where the competition the Prince established will be held next year.
Here's the 25.
The Duke trying his hand at skeleton sledding.
Oh, man. That was really awesome.
Good. Well done. Revealing he has plans to go back to the UK in the near future. But the fifth in line to the throne made it very clear he's very much at home with Meghan and their children in America.
How are you enjoying your time living in the US?
It's amazing. I love every single day.
Would you think about becoming a citizen?
I have considered it, yeah.
Jessica Millward, 9 News.
The prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeline McCann has been seen for the first time since he was connected to the case. A convicted rapist known as Christian B is facing unrelated sexual assault charges in a German court, alleged to have occurred in Portugal between 2000 and 2017. 2 years ago, he was named the prime suspect in Maddie's 2007 disappearance. He's not been charged and denies any involvement. A person driving a stolen tow truck used it as a battering ram before leading police on a chase through the US state of Maryland. The pursuit lasted just over an hour, with the driver smashing through 11 vehicles and 3 police cars before being arrested. Clinical trials offer cancer patients much-needed hope, even when there's little evidence the treatment will work. That was the case for grandmother Nancy Calaco, when the drug she received to test its safety became her lifeline. Gabriella Rogers has more.
By the time Nancy Calaco's breast cancer was picked up, the tumours had spread to her spine. Persistent pain in her shoulder led to the devastating diagnosis.
I was exercising, I ate well, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I looked well.
Nancy received standard hormone treatments for stage 4 cancer, but after 2 years, it was no longer effective.
When it's lit up like this, it means that the cancer was active.
The 63-year-old became one of the first in the world to be enrolled in the early safety trial of this new drug, Giredestrant. It's also the first hormone treatment to be developed into a tablet in 2 decades.
At that time, we didn't know very much about the trial, other than that it was given orally.
But as the months rolled on, it became clear the tablets were working. Nancy celebrating each milestone at 40 and 50 months.
So another 5 cycles, it'll be 5 years. It's been a game changer, it's been a lifesaver.
A lifesaver with no side effects, enabling the former teacher to continue her love of gardening.
The drug is not yet registered for use more widely. That will depend on the final results of phase 3 trials.
Nancy's remarkable results doesn't mean other patients will respond the same way.
Patients participate in the trials often out of altruistic reasons to help us move the field forward.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
Crowds have descended on the St Kilda Festival, which is set to inject $21 million into the local economy. A full day of First Nations music has entertained festival goers on day 1 of the event. More than 70 acts will perform on multiple stages over the weekend, including Bag Raiders and Mole Rat. Still to come tonight, Under the Hammer, all of today's auction results with Domain's Alice Stoltz. Plus, Joe Hall meets the special choir helping to reduce loneliness. And a curious moose spotted trying to sniff out a Costco bargain. Residents in Canberra watched in disbelief this morning as a hot air balloon made an emergency landing in a suburban backyard. It skimmed dangerously close to rooftops, but the pilot managed to bring it down safely.
The people in the basket, all the passengers were quite elderly. They were it was a family celebrating an 80th birthday. They seemed a little bit shaken, but all okay.
The balloon company says no one was injured. Taking a look now at this week's auction results. Alice Stoltz from Domain joins me with the details. Alice, auction numbers rose again this week. How did the buyers respond to the increase in listings?
Good evening, Pete. Well, they certainly rose to the plate, I think we could say. There were 868 auctions held across Melbourne today, and a preliminary clearance rate of 69% has been recorded, so fairly good given the strength of those auctions. Our most expensive property that sold today was in Glen Iris. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and it sold for $3.86 million. The most affordable property was in Melton South, and it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit, and that sold for $273,000. Now, our property of the week this week is a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, sort of quintessential Toorak home. It's designed by the renowned architect Stephen Akehurst. And many Toorak homes are, of course, built for privacy and comfort. And this one has a corner allotment and it's spread over 1,000 square metres and it has all the usual Toorak trimmings: tennis court, pool, beautiful alfresco terrace area, basement car park for 6 cars and a cinema room. But the ultimate flourish is it features a swanky sort of New York-style speakeasy with basement entertaining area with a commercial-sized cocktail bar and wine cellar. Now, it's on the market for $19.5 to $21 million, Pete. So pretty classic Toorak price, we could say.
Wow, how about that? Thank you, Alice. Well, if you keep forgetting to take your blood pressure medication, you're in luck. A clinical trial by the University of Chicago has found a single injection of a drug called zilebesiran can significantly lower blood pressure. A study found that one dose every 6 months was able to improve levels compared with a placebo. A nationwide call-out tonight to help combat a growing sense of social isolation and a feeling of being unheard. Creativity Australia's With One Voice program is welcoming more members to its inclusive and diverse network of choirs. Jo Hall explains.
They say sing like there's nobody listening. And live like it's heaven on earth. For members of this With One Voice choir, their weekly harmonies are a slice of heaven.
I love the endorphins you get from singing and just seeing other people and seeing everybody happy and bright, and I just love singing.
Philomena McDonald is choir coordinator.
It welcomes everybody, which is wonderful.
It's a diverse community and diversion is very important.
Melville Mirando has been a With One Voice choir member for 15 years. What do you love about coming to the choir?
The inclusiveness, the acceptance of who you are and not what you are.
There's something special about being with the community of all different ages and cultures, as we said.
There are more than 1,000 singers in 25 With One Voice choirs across the country, like this one in Ashburton. They are breaking down barriers, promoting inclusion and acceptance, and forging friendships like that between Jeanette and Damien.
I've been coming here since 2016. It was thanks to Jeanette that told me about the choir, and I've loved it ever since.
Jeanette adores the weekly catch-ups with Damien, supper served after singing, and choir conductor Kim.
Kim makes me so happy because she is the most wonderful girl.
That feeling of just togetherness and like the shared fabric of humanity, just enjoying singing together, is something that I really get helped by, and I can see how it's impacting others, and seeing them happy makes me happy.
We like to dress up to come, don't we, Rachel?
Yes, we do.
Mother and daughter, Jenny and Rachel Barago.
We love our tiaras, Jo.
They say the choir is for everyone.
We don't need to be checked first to see if we can sing. We all just find out that we can sing.
I got told at a very young age that I can't sing, and I came here one day and I never left. I can sing.
A Swinburne University study shows 98% of With One Voice participants experienced less stress, 91% improved social bonds, and 66% feel less depressed.
The choir is preparing for its upcoming gig at the Surrey Hills Music Festival next weekend, a performance sure to bring joy to the audience, but more so the performers.
It makes me feel so good, brightens a day. Brightens any day.
Jo Hall, 9 News.
A woman in Alaska has attempted to bribe a moose with sweet potatoes after it started nosing through her shopping trolley. The wild animal had to be shooed away by workers from the nearby Costco in Anchorage because it was blocking customers from coming and going. Rangers have noticed an increase in moose encounters, with recent snow forcing them to look for other food sources. Now, returning with sport, here's Alicia Muling.
Thanks so much, Pete. Up next, opportunity knocks for some young Hawks after a raft of injuries. Also, a key bomber unveils his new look ahead of round one. Revenge in Rotterdam for the Demon. And the Aussies close in on a historic victory at the Wacker.
Incredibly fun, remarkably functional,
and effortlessly stylish. Introducing the all-new Ford Puma. A compact SUV that really packs a punch. Looking good has never been this easy. Secure yours today. The all-new Ford Puma. Effortlessly stylish.
Hawthorn captain James Sicily admits he might have to surrender some of his freedom in the Hawks' now vulnerable defence. But the skipper doesn't believe injuries should change expectations of a rise up the ladder. Joshua Daw reports.
Hawthorn has already been delivered a huge slice of bad luck, but with this week's injured Hawks putting on a brave face at their family day, the skipper believes his group will bounce back.
He's braved it yesterday and came to team photo day. So that's a good response. I don't know if I would have done the same thing.
James Sicily calmed his team straight after Thursday's chaotic intra-club when James Blank's season ended and Chankwath Jath suffered a 6 to 8 week hamstring strain.
I don't know it yet, but there will be some silver lining out of him missing. As always, creates an opportunity for someone else.
But he also knows Blank's loss could force him to become more accountable than the interceptor who won an All-Australian jacket last year.
Someone might get off the chain and I might have to go to them, but hopefully not. I've got confidence in the other guys to do the job. Young Jai Sarong, who just turned 21, who's played a couple of games and had a good pre-season. We've still got Denver. We've got Weddle, who's 95 kilos. We've got depth. We'll be stretched, though.
He hopes the Hawks' new wave of exciting forwards will stretch the opposition just as much.
We beat the two teams that played off in the grand final. So, and understandingly, we lost to Freo in Sydney and some other teams where we genuinely look like a bottom four side, but. We'd expect growth on what we did last year.
The Demons went through their final preparations with a squad of 31 to front up in tomorrow's first practice match, but Clayton Oliver trained afterwards with the VFL side. Both he and Christian Salem will play on managed minutes against Richmond. Shane McAdam and Tom McDonald will miss with injury, along with Angus Brayshaw, who is sick. Joshua Daw, 9 News.
Essendon's Mason Redman has put his teammates on notice ahead of the new season. The star defender hopes a new look on and off the field will bring change to Tullamarine. Nat Unides explains.
Essendon's recent finals record has defender Mason Redman tearing his hair out, but the man affectionately known as Red Dog is buzzing ahead of the 2024 season.
I feel like we've got the cattle in the shed, so now it's time to bring it on the football field and put good performances in on game day.
Redman has played 2 finals without success and has made no secret of his frustration, last week declaring enough is enough for Brad Scott's men.
I've definitely noticed a bigger shift towards continual improvement every day, and as far as I'm concerned it means nothing at this stage. We haven't played games, and until we start doing that and performing on Fridays and Saturdays, that's where the measurement will be taken.
The 26-year-old was a favourite at the club's family day.
Number 27, Mason Redman!
After turning his back on a monster offer from Adelaide to stay with Essendon on a 5-year deal. He'll join recruit Ben Mackay in a revamped Bombers backline. If the Eagles' final intra-club hit-out is anything to go by, top draft pick Harley Reid looks set to live up to the hype this season. Fellow draftee Clay Hall was crunched in a tackle by Elliot Yeo. The club hopeful his ankle injury is only minor. Nat Unides, 9 News.
Australia's women's cricket team is closing in on a big multi-format series win over South Africa. The Aussies need 3 wickets for victory in the Test match after Ash Gardner claimed a breakthrough on day 3.
And then she's got the wicket, Ash Gardner. She has been so persistent.
Meanwhile, Will Bukovski has made a successful return following his latest concussion scare. The Victorian is 69 not out at stumps on day 2 of the Shield clash against New South Wales. Concerned golf fans watched as Tiger Woods was forced to withdraw from the Genesis Invitational just 6 holes into the second round. The 48-year-old was seen with his head buried in his hands as he was driven off the course in what was his first competitive round in 10 months.
The reason Tiger is withdrawing, the word we're getting from him is that it's an illness. He's not feeling well.
It's since been revealed Woods was suffering from the flu and dehydration. After his 4th round Australian Open exit, Alex de Minaur has earned revenge on Andrei Rublev, overcoming the Russian in a tight 3 sets in the quarterfinals of the Rotterdam Open.
Another top 5 victory for Alex de Minaur.
The Demon, who turns 25 tomorrow, will face Grigor Dimitrov in a birthday showdown for a spot in the final. And Ange Postecoglou has dismissed rumours linking him to the vacant Liverpool job. The Tottenham boss is one of the favourites to replace Jurgen Klopp, but the Aussie wouldn't buy into speculation. He's on the Reds' shortlist.
I may be on a shortlist. Yeah, no, I don't think I want to say anything about that because I don't think that's ever going to enter my sort of brain space, so-called chat. I mean, really, it's not no of interest to me. Thanks.
The fourth place Spurs face Wolves in the Premier League tomorrow morning. And Pete, that's sport for you Saturday.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. And Maddie returns now. How's the second half of the weekend shaping up, Maddie?
Well, Pete, it's actually going to be quite similar to today. It'll be mild with plenty of sunshine, but it won't take long for it to really heat up again. I'll have all the details and the 7-day forecast next.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
Hello again. After a cloudy morning, it turned into a sunny afternoon. The city was still a bit cooler than average though, peaking at 23 degrees, and that came after a low of 14. Most of Melbourne dipped to 11, 12 or 13 degrees. Frankston and Rosebud fell to 15. Then with plenty of afternoon sunshine, Viewbank and Yarra Glen climbed to 27, and it generally got to 23, 24 or 25 elsewhere, although only 21 at Ferny Creek. Further out, Warrnambool had a much cooler start, dropping down to 7. It was a warmer morning in the east, 18 at Mallacoota, 19 at Wodonga, and it went on to be one of the warmest spots in the state, a top of 36 degrees. Then there were maximums in the mid-30s elsewhere in the north. It reached 22 or 23 in the south, and there's been some storms near the border in far east Gippsland this afternoon. A trough is triggering that stormy weather, while a high-pressure system over the Bight is delivering the settled conditions elsewhere. In the country's north, ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln weakened overnight, but it has continued to deliver heavy rain today. And that rain will persist tomorrow as it moves further west. Elsewhere, the trough will trigger more scattered showers across the east coast, and they could extend into Victoria again, with a chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms in the far east from the afternoon, but it will be a dry day elsewhere. And under hot easterly winds, temperatures are set to soar in Western Australia. Perth's on track to break its record for the most 40-degree days in a month. Usually there's only one in February, but they've already had 5 so far. And it is heading for 43 degrees tomorrow, a partly cloudy top of 33 in Adelaide, 26 in Hobart, 31 in Canberra with a possible storm, 29 in Sydney, and breaks of sunshine and a top of 30 for Brisbane. Back home, minimums will range from 11 to 19 degrees. The state's south can also expect some morning fog patches, and then it's heading to the mid to high 20s. There'll be maximums in the 30s in the north and up to 37 at Mildura. Ferny Creek can expect a cool night down to 9 degrees. Most other spots will dip to 12, 13 or 14. At the other end of the day, it will reach the low to mid-20s under partly cloudy skies, and Coldstream is set to be our warmest suburb with 26 degrees. There's the chance of an early morning fog in Geelong, and after a low of 14 degrees, it's heading for 25 with breaks of sunshine, and the city should get to 23 after a low of 15. And then 23 degrees again on Monday, but cloudy, up to 29 on Tuesday, back into the 30s on Wednesday, 32 and partly cloudy. A warm start on Thursday, 24, and then reaching 36 under sunny skies. And then a cool change arrives that evening, 23 on Friday, 22 next Saturday with some sunshine. But we do have another lovely day ahead of us tomorrow. After a low of 15 degrees, the city's heading for 23 with breaks of sunshine. So perfect weather for a Sunday, Pete.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Maddie. Now, before we go, Amelia Adams is here with a preview of 60 Minutes.
Thanks, Peter. Tomorrow night. From screaming out songs...
Were you afraid? I thought it was gone.
...to screaming in pain.
Came off, I collapsed.
The massive hit Jimmy Barnes didn't see coming.
Said to Jane, I don't think I'm going to make it this time. I said, I think I'm going to die.
Plus, ignored for decades.
This is what we call a clue.
The startling evidence that could finally reveal...
The injuries are very distinctive.
...who murdered John Benet Ramsey.
Could this be the same person?
That's tomorrow night after Married. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you. And Melbourne, that's what's news this Saturday. Deb Knight's along next with the current affair. Enjoy your evening and good night.